Welcome back to the O&G StrikeZone. Bryan, Kelvin, Marcus, and we have a special place in our heart for this young lady because she comes in talking basketball. She keeps it real, and she even allows us to use the government name every now and then. It's Liv. It's Liv. Liv for Hoops or Die Lonely. We want more Liv. At Liv for Hoops is where you can find her. Liv, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
What's going on, Liv?
We're doing great. How was the off season for you, Liv? Like all basketball players, there is an off season, but how did you spend your off season?
This was actually my last season coaching AAU. So I was with my kids, coaching them, and then obviously being a mom. But it was nice to have a break from watching 6 women games, 6 men games, popping back and forth. But I'm also excited for it to start back up because obviously I love basketball, so I missed it. But it was nice to have a little tiny break.
Yeah, I mean, I was following along. You were coaching, and you were coaching middle school girls, 8th, 9th grade, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. What? Now they're off to high school. You've done everything to get them ready for high school ball, right?
No. Sound like to me, Liv like. Woo. I'm glad that's over with.
It definitely teaches you another level of patience because I was with them when they were in 6th grade, and I am used to older kids where you can be like more blunt and to the point. And with young girls, I really didn't want to be that. I just wanted to be as supportive and like build them up as possible and teach them. So it definitely teaches you patience because they just don't know what they don't know. And being an AAU coach, you can't control what they're taught during the regular season, and a lot of them aren't coached well during the regular season. And so just patience and having fun with them and just making sure I'm doing my part, that I'm not taking away the love of the game for them.
Well, I'll tell you, having been down that road for many, many a years, I got a little warm spot in my heart when I think it was you shared the story about, was it your birthday when they gave you some of the like birthday gifts and things like that? That was to me when I knew you hit them. Like that's how much you mean to them. And I know you mean a lot. They mean a lot to you. Mm-hmm. And so I saw that and I had flashbacks. And that was there's a lot of things that I don't miss about AAU coaching basketball, but those moments, the way you described it, I was like, oh man, she's not gonna want to get out of this, but it is what it is. Okay, so Liv, the basketball season, it's October. It's our favorite month of the year. Basketball season is here. You had a chance to cover the SWAC Media Day. First off, do you like the fact that let's talk about just the SWAC from a whole basketball? Do you like the fact that they had the media days kind of broken up into 2 days, one day for the women, one day for the men, and then we got the new format and then the new location. So we got 3 different things we can hit on. What's your thoughts on all 3 there?
I do like that it was 2 different days. I think people don't have time to sit in front of their TV. Most people don't for 4+ hours, and it allows people to just focus on one side and really just listen to what coaches are saying and players are saying. So I do like the split day. I did not like the new format of the coaches and the players being split apart, but that was just my personal preference. I personally find it nice to see the relationship between the players and the coaches while they're sitting there engaging with the whoever's asking the questions. I'm not saying it was horrible. Me personally, I prefer the other format just to see how they like relate to each other, how their personalities kind of come off, because I think that's a nice additional bonus to see how these 2 players that were selected actually have those relationships, those banters with their coaches. And the change to Atlanta, I love it if it's done correctly. I think a lot more has to go into it besides just a location change. A lot more like, for instance, advertising. I thought last year it was very lackluster building up after such an amazing, and specifically women basketball, after such, I feel, an amazing season that was filled with huge non-conference wins, a lot of battles. There wasn't a lot of build up to the conference tournament to entice people. And yes, if your team makes it, of course you want to go, but there has to be additional factors that get people there. I obviously think Georgia over Alabama is a lot more of a place that people want to go. But I just hope that more marketing, potential, like collaborations with different artists. Like, there's so many different things that could happen in Atlanta, which is such a huge hub for culture and alumni bases. And so I really just hope they take advantage, but the work has to follow it, and not just assume that people are going to come because it's in Atlanta. Because also, I've said this, I literally despise that they moved it to 10 teams that make it to the SWAC tournament. I think that was such, I'm trying to be nice. I don't like the decision. I really like the 8 teams because I feel like at the end of the season with the men, there was so much on the line with those last few games of who's going to make it, who's not. Like, it was really like a do or die. And we saw teams who we thought would make it fall off because of one game or missing it by just point differential. I don't like the 10 teams. I think it's going to be very costly for teams who really can't afford to be there a whole week, because games start on the 11th, but they have the banquet, the night before. So everyone has to be at the banquet. All the teams are not playing on night one. So you have to not only figure out what you're going to do with your team, you have to find practice facilities. You're not going to have them sitting in a hotel like all day, every day. So I feel like it's going to end up being costly for some teams who end up in the championship game. But, they made that decision, and they're saying they're going to move the year after to all 12 teams, which I don't like that either. I think that's a waste of certain teams' times, if I'm saying that very nicely. But, they made that decision. And so I hope teams who are that 10th seed, I know people who are fighting for it, I think are coaches who think they're going to end up in that 10th seed predicament, but make the most of it, and we'll see how it goes this season and what changes may come. Also, I don't like the format to conference play. I don't like it. Unless schools are investing in marketing, specifically just their women's team, because as we know, a lot of fans come in the second half or the fourth quarter to just sit for the men's team. So unless schools, their communications, their athletic departments are doing their part in assisting these teams to get them in on just the women's day, I'm not moved by it. The move just seemed very like, oh, we're so pro women, we want to give them their all night. That's what it felt like to me. But as long as schools are doing it right, I think it could be a good thing. But I'm not scared. I'm nervous for some schools that their women just won't get any fans at all on their singular day of play. That's all.
That's a lot to chew on there. So let me come back to the scheduling. So they go into and me, honestly, I love the 8 teams. I've kind of, some people thought I was joking when I said, there's some teams that are going to be 9-10 that they're ready for spring break, which is another thing that people have to be. I mean, there'll be kids that'll be going, oh man, we got another game. We're the 10 seed.
I mean, that's reality.
It is reality, yes. But I mean, so they say they wanted to do, so them going to the 10 and 12 was a product of listening to the students, and the students saying that they wanted. So you were a student athlete not that long ago. Does that speak to maybe this generation of, I mean, you talk to these student athletes, I mean, is that kind of the vibe you get where they all want to be part of this? I mean, is there anybody that wants to fight to be the 8th, or am I being the old guy in the room?
I think there's 2 sides to it. Obviously, there's gym rats who really live, breathe, eat basketball. And then there's the other side, which a lot of people are seeing with this younger generation. They don't live in the gym. They do just what they're supposed to do, which is practice and games. I I'm curious to know which student athletes they asked, because I don't find that many of them would want that, but that's just my opinion. If you're a 10th seed, obviously like shockers happen and big games, things happen in the tournament, but I just don't like it. I like the 8 teams, 14. All teams don't have to go. And also that's how you build when we're talking about the postseason, then when we go into other tournaments, like let's say, and no disrespect, because if anyone follows me, they know like I I lift up Valley's women's basketball team a lot. If they end up winning the championship, there's no way, no how they're getting anything higher than a bottom seed. And then in that case, no offense, they're getting whooped. So then that means one less competitive team that we can have on that bigger stage when our slots are they're limited even more. In order for us to build up to getting more, it has to stay competitive. And I just think bringing those 9, 10, 11, 12 makes it less respectable to the people who are making the decisions upstairs for the NCAA.
I love the way you phrase that. I love the way you phrase that. Go ahead, Kelvin. I'll let you get some questions in there for Liv.
I think Liv, you articulated your positions on those very well. There are some counters to that. I won't push the counter yet. I think there's some business. I think there's some business things to that. Also, with them moving to Atlanta and trying to, I know they got some kind of deal with where they playing where the Dream play at, and they got to deal with the hotels around there. And so usually when you do those kind of deals, you got to get to a certain number of guaranteed rooms and all that. So there's more than just basketball. They blamed it on the students.
Correct.
But
there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah. But so tell me what you think about SWAC women's basketball for this season. What you see and what some things you looking forward to.
I think it's going to be another exciting season. I think after last season, a lot of coaches, even the veteran coaches, saw what it could be. And I think the promotion of everyone who is uplifting the teams really was so beneficial to what SWAC basketball was. I think it's going to be competitive and very shocking. With Coach Reed leaving, that leaves the number one undisputed coach. She's out. So it's like, what's going to happen now? I feel like SWAC is really, it's transfer you. Like there's some teams who don't have freshmen every single year. It's such a transfer heavy conference, and there's nothing wrong with that. The coaches definitely take advantage of the portal of JUCO players. And so a lot of teams, you'll see different looking teams every single season just based on kids leaving, kids graduating. We'll see there's so many teams that have transfers from other schools in the SWAC. So I think it will be very interesting to see how teams come out. I asked this question a lot during SWAC Media Days. How are you going to find the chemistry and get your team to gel through non-conference play? I find it often very hard for teams to find that continuity and gel when they're getting their tail whooped night in and night out in non-conference play. It's hard to establish roles when you're losing by 40. So I'm really intrigued to see how teams take advantage of that, to see during those early games. Obviously it matters how you're playing closer to the tournament, but who's going to establish themselves early on and get rolling the fastest. Because again, a lot of people have like 8+ new players on their roster.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
And for men, I'll just say quickly, for men, I'm just excited to see specifically what happens with FAMU men's basketball, because people have been talking very crazy, not even just about the situation that transpired, but about coach and what he can do. And he speaks very confidently about the system he has, the players that he's brought in. So I'm excited to see how he does against a lot of veteran coaches. And, I'm also excited to see how Shannon Grant does in the conference. I tweeted this. I think he was so misused in FAMU's offense, and under Mo Williams, who is known to utilize his post players in not only pick and rolls, but also inside. I think he's going to have a monster season alongside their other players, their other forwards and posts who are back. I'm just excited to see what he does because I really heavily think the post play was not utilized correctly last year. But yeah, that's the men.
100% agree with you on Shannon Grant.
And I also think he's going to be out for vengeance because I feel like a lot of people were doubting him last season based on people who don't know basketball, who didn't see he wasn't getting those touches. We're saying, oh, he's big for nothing, like, crazy stuff like that. And so I feel like he's going to be on a vengeance tour being like, oh, what were you guys saying now? Like, I'm going to show you guys. So
let me bring up the since we're talking about the men's standings that Kelvin brought up. There's the order of finish. I had to change the graphic up a little bit, kind of represent. But there you see the predicted order of finish. Sometimes I feel like they go chalk on these things. Like I, firmly expect Texas Southern to always be somehow up in the mix. And of course, Grambling, the defending champs. Can you take anything away from the predicted order of finish, Liv? I don't know. Did you give out a predicted order, or is it too early to do that?
Not for men. I did for women. With predicted orders, obviously they don't matter, especially again because this conference is so transfer heavy. Even player of the years preseason don't matter because all of these transfers, you just never know what's gonna happen. So I don't take these really with much of anything because it's just people basing it off of last season, knowing returners. I will say the people who voted on this really have Alabama A&M all the way messed up. To put them that low, I thought was so disrespectful. Valley deserved to be that low. I mean, I have my own thoughts about Valley men's basketball team, and I feel like they will be down there for the foreseeable future until they decide to change directions. But the only one that I was like, that's crazy, is that they had Alabama A&M that low, especially with them returning, a nice bulk of their players. Chad Moody, who is rookie of the year, and he is a very dominant post who has grown his game. Them getting into the semifinals at the SWAC tournament. And I thought towards the end of the season, they were playing really good basketball. But again, all the preseason stuff, it doesn't matter once you get in those trenches because once those lights come on, a lot of these players get scared. So that's what we'll be waiting to see is who can show up when the lights are on once they're really fighting for minutes at that point. What is their body language? How are they responding to difficult situations? Team dynamics, because as the season goes on, stuff happens. Like arguments happen. It's just that's what happens on teams. And so I think with the men, I would like to say Grambling, but when I went back and I really listened to him, he really has a new roster. Lost a lot of key pieces, but returned, obviously Contavious Dozier. But I think the men's side is more open than what people really think it is.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay. Marcus, go ahead. What you got for Liv?
Once again, thank you for coming back. Good to see you. You may have answered a lot of the questions that I had. I guess on the women's side, I was going to ask, with so much transient teams and transfers coming in and out, and actually with Coach leaving Jackson State, is there any real clear-cut favorite, or is it kind of wide open?
In my opinion, I don't think it's wide open. But I feel like on the women's side, it's always been kind of 3 tiers of like these teams, they're fighting for those 4 bottom spots of who, and obviously like stuff can happen. Injuries happen. People leave in the middle of the season. People get kicked off in the middle of the season. But I just feel like there's 3 tiers that always tend to happen of like, oh, these teams are shifting between the 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the middle group. So I don't think it's super wide open. I think there's a few teams that could end up in first place, but I don't think certain teams, with all due respect, I just don't think certain teams will win the conference. And that's just based on how they did last year, the players that they brought, and like just kind of what I've been seeing. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that's why you're here. In terms of what Brian pulled up on the graphic, are the tiers pretty much what you would expect, or would you move a couple teams around?
I thought Jackson State was way too high. When I tweeted my rankings, like I think they're way too high. And then the bottom four is pretty much what I had. I thought it was weird that they still voted Valley last under UAPB, considering, and like all respect to the coach, but considering she's a brand new coach and Valley didn't finish in last year, I thought it was quite interesting that they put them down there this year. Everything else, it was pretty much just like one change, one spot, but Jackson State, I personally had at 6. I don't think that Coach Richards will finish in the top 4 this year simply because she got that job late. I will say when she was at Alabama A&M, her teams always finished typically in that like 4 or 5 spot. So that's where she's used to being. But just because she acquired that position very late, I don't see them finishing in 4th. But again, anything can happen. And I had Bethune way higher.
Yeah.
But I did. I had them at 4. I had them at 4. I think people forget the success they were having before half their team got injured at the same time. And everyone seems they're having memory loss. Half their team got injured when they were on a roll. They were sitting in a top 3 position, and then they lost their starting point guard, their post player, their 2 wing players, and they were stuck with 6 players over a stretch of games. Mind you, I was really contemplating where it put them, but when I went back to that stretch, they weren't losing games. The only team they lost to by double figures, like badly, was Jackson State. All the other games, they were still competitive in with a short bench. So I had them way higher. I understand why people would put them there, but again, I don't, because they're returning 2 of the best.
Yep.
The best post player duo in the conference, and I want people to put respect on Kayla Clark's name. Before she got injured, she was a double-double machine. She was dominating, and I think personally the pieces that they got from the portal and from their freshman class are better than the pieces that decided to hit the portal. So, that was one that was a huge difference on mine. But, everything else was remotely the same. I had FAMU at 5, so that was spot on with what the conference voted them. I had Grambling at 1. So a lot of it was very similar besides those 2 teams.
Yeah.
Let me add in here, follow-up kind of from Marcus. Obviously, FAMU coming in 5th. They got some first place votes. When you look at, and you kind of heard the interview, you've heard the, coach, and you talked to Coach Gordon. This team, what's your thoughts on what's the ceiling for this team in year 2 and looking at the roster and knowing what coach is going to bring for this team and what else the rest of the conference is? Is there, and I say that with Jackson State gone, I feel like it's open now that Jackson State's gone. What's the ceiling for FAMU? Is finishing first a reality this year for FAMU women basketball?
I can't definitely say that. I think my biggest question is for them remains their post play. They have 2 returners who I was very honest about last season. I don't think they gave anything besides trying hard in the minutes that they gave. The post player that they brought from Chicago State, there's a lot of question marks around her for me personally. If you look at what Chicago State did last season, they won 1 game. And then when you look at her stats, and people can play different in other people's systems and under different coaches, but that was a big thing for me last year, and it's going to remain the same till they can show me that they're physical, they can actually score inside, and that they can defend. I think that was a big, on top of them being extremely one-dimensional last year when it came to scoring, because yes, Delancey averaged 14 points, but she was extremely inconsistent, and we saw that throughout many games where she would hit one shot, but, was shooting a very high volume. It's hard to say with them losing their only true scorer last season, but the post play is really going to be a big question for me. When I look at other teams and I really examine them, there's a few who don't have, that have new post players. But when we go down the line, Bethune has very good post players. Alabama State, who Cordesia Harris was first team preseason all SWAC, she's a post player. Grambling brought in bigger bodies, but last year it was good competition between those teams, but they brought in bigger post players than they had last year. Alabama A&M, obviously, Coach Thornton keeps a big post player on her roster, and they have preseason defensive player in the year in Alicia Wilson, who had the highest rebounding game last season in conference play. So that will be the biggest what if for me. I don't think guard play is enough. And I think they need to establish that early on and have a more balanced attack. I think that would have helped last year. Like Grizzle could not come off the floor. If they wanted to be competitive or win the game, she could not come off the floor. And that doesn't build, a long-term successful team. So if they brought in a lot of guards, it's just a lot of question marks for me to see what their ceiling is once we see them play. But the biggest one is just going to be post play, their production, and their defense, because I feel like in order to have a championship winning team, you need that. Coach Reed always had really good post players on her team. They knew how to defend, rebound. In order for them, in my opinion, to be successful, their post play just needs to step up.
Mm-hmm. Let me just add, as a observer, last year, point guard plays really important, I think, for FAMU's team too. Mm-hmm. We just didn't have people who can handle the ball. Yep. And so we had high turnover, and we couldn't get players the ball in positions where they can get easy buckets, right? We didn't get easy buckets.
No, had to work for every single one. Yeah.
So I'm looking for that also.
But I did hear little rumbling. Sydney's going to be a sleeper this season. I remember she got hurt towards the end of the season. She will be a sleeper this season. I am hoping she evolved her game. In high school, she was primarily a post player, and last year we saw her primarily play on the interior. I do think she's physically strong enough, but I do think she is undersized when it comes to height. So I'm hoping she extended her game just a smidge in the off season. But I'm hearing people are going to she's the one. So that's just what the rumblings I'm hearing.
Okay. I remember you talked about her a year ago. You were really high on Sydney, and we saw those flashes where she came in and really looked good in spurts. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be excited. It would be nice to be able to see 3 or 4 young ladies be
consistent
scorers, right? Mm-hmm. That's the key word.
And so just in relation to that, right? Like Grambling, obviously she had a very successful season, but when you look at their scores, like everyone averages 6 to 10 points. And she noted that in Media Day why they didn't have anyone on any of the preseason teams, because she has 5 to 6 players that all average 6 to 10 points. So any given night they could have someone else step up. And I think that's just the way that's how I like to see all teams play. Obviously you're going to have people who you can lean on more to be those, we need a bucket right now. But if you're having someone who is taking, most of the shots, initiating all the plays, having to play majority of the minutes, it gets taxing during the season, and you see a lot more wear and tear.
Gremlin also didn't have a player that averaged over like 23 or 24 minutes.
Yep.
Right.
And yep, they all like are around that mark. No one's playing 30 plus minutes a game for that team.
Yep.
Makes it real challenging at the end of the season to try to name MVP, and I know it was contentious there when it came down to the award season, but when you know the voters, and a lot of times I know don't let me get in front of the train. If you let me steer the ship, I'm gonna lead it, and I'm gonna be all over the place with my orange and green pom poms. But I also know the voters, and once you start knowing how SWAC voters are, you just kind of know which way it's going. And so, yeah, there might have been more players that meant more, like at other schools. But at the end of the day, when you understand that SWAC voters look at like the stats, and they're looking at points. When they look at points, they're going to be like, oh, well, it's her.
But that's why I wish our conference would change. Because even with Defensive Player of the Year, and this is like all respect to people who have gotten these awards, but when it comes to Defense Player of the Year, like just looking at blocks is not enough. Like we need to, like, there's more.
They don't know what else to look at. They don't know what else to look at though. So it's like
then they should not be able to vote. And that's just me being completely honest, because these awards, like, yes, to a lot of people, they don't mean anything, but like, let's be real. There are people being slighted who, like, and this is forever. This is a lot of different conferences that have this issue, but even I think and not to compare, but I love the way the MEAC, like all their awards last season made sense. And then they have like an all defensive team, right? Because then you can give those other players the shine and recognition they deserve. We don't have enough freshmen to do an all rookie team, to be honest. So I get why we don't have that, but like widening the award categories, I think would help. But that's why I just did my own last year, because I was like, this is just what I think, what I saw. So it is what it is. I mean, people will vote what they want to vote, and at the end of the day, championships matter, and winning, the conference, winning a conference tournament is what most people's goal is. And you can't say, what, let's not even dig into this, because you're gonna get me on this hot topic.
Come on, Lynn. Come on, Lynn. Go on, get it out. Come on, it's early. It's preseason. Get it out.
So I'm gonna switch it up just a little bit, Liv. So what are your plans for basketball season this year? Or what are you looking to do?
I think it will look a lot different from me this season. I felt like I was honestly just doing so much, and I genuinely love talking about basketball, and I hope it comes across that way. I genuinely love basketball, and I love promoting these players, promoting these coaches. I come from a very genuine place, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm hoping to get to more games. It's just very challenging because obviously based on where HBCUs were given their land, the airports are they're so expensive to fly into. Like, it's crazy. I will be at the FAMU Howard game though. Plane ticket already bought, hotel already secured.
What? Liv's coming home. She's coming home. Liv's coming home.
I'm nervous. I haven't been back.
Marcus?
I'm nervous. I haven't been back in so long.
Oh, you wrong for that.
Hey, Liv, show Marcus up. Marcus, you got to come to a basketball game now.
Breaking news right here on the O&G. Liv is coming back to the Lawson Center. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be a big. Oh, we got to be there for that. We got to do a show. We got to do a show because Liv's coming home. That's what we're talking about right there. That's fun. That's exciting. That's exciting.
So I'm hopeful for just another great season, and I hope that teams. Obviously, I know communication athletic departments, they're spread very thin. Not a lot of staff to go amongst a lot of different sports. I'm hoping the women's basketball, because that's really what I care about. Like, we can throw tomatoes at the men's side. They were boring last season anyways, if we're being honest. Like, they were. The best thing that happened last season was when Alabama State forgot their jerseys. Like, That was
I was there.
and had to play in their dingy practice uniforms. So I just hope that the conference and athletic department see what is being built on the women's side and how they can really promote it and advertise it, because women's basketball, anyone who's been watching knows that, you know, it's it. But now is really the time to be in your bag when it comes to women's basketball and be promoting your coaches, your individual players, especially the ones that want to play at the next level. We have to do more storytelling, more promotion, because they don't know what they don't know. And not every coach, you know, has connections with scouts or anything like that. So I think it will look different from me this year. At least that's my plan. Different ways that I'll be highlighting, but I'll still be, you know, out here. There's a lot of teams who wanted me to promote their team last year from different levels, but I'm just little me. So like, there's only so much I can do in so much time. But, you know, I hope everyone just pours into women's basketball. Like I said last year, and when ticket sales come out, buy tickets. You know, when you see that there's different opportunities with the basketball teams, give just as much to the basketball as you do to the football. Because that's the way you can build winning cultures. Like the dollars have to follow that, unfortunately. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, you do a great job for the sport and a lot of these departments. And I see just seeing you on different platforms and people really appreciating and respecting your opinion says that you're doing it right, Liv. So that's why I always, you know, love talking to you, because it's a fresh voice, it's an honest voice, and you well, hey, look, you played the game, you've been there, you've done it at a high level, at a good level. So, you know, no one can ever, you know, throw shade and say she don't know what she's talking about, because you do. You've been there.
People definitely do that though.
Oh well,
it's okay. I find it funny. I'm just like, okay. Just most of the time it's men, and I'm like, you must just like me, and this is your way of breaking ice. There's no way you look at what I'm saying and think I don't know basketball.
Shoot this shot.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, Liv, you know, you be getting them. You be getting them. You know, people out there, they throwing up half court shots sometimes, but you know, they gotta read and listen. You gotta read and listen, fellas. Read and listen, and don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. But you know, it's good. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Liv, let me get you real quick. WNBA playoffs are happening right now. Who you got? I don't know if a three-peat's gonna happen, Liv. I don't know if a three-peat's gonna happen.
I know. I'm a ride with my aces in the next 3 games. But I really it hurt. Like, I love the Connecticut Lynx series that's happening right now. Like, when I used to have season tickets to the Lynx, back when it was Maya Morse and Augustus, players. So I really don't know. I want it to be the Aces or Connecticut, but I have a feeling it will be the Lynx and the Liberty in the final game.
All right. You gotta give
I'm like, I froze. I always freeze on here.
Yeah, Liv, I just wanted your thoughts on the Team USA basketball, and especially when they lost to the look like we lost her.
Well, she'll be. Yeah, I think she had an issue. Hold on, here she is. Oh, there we go. All right, got you. Go ahead, Liv.
Yeah, I was asking about Team USA women's basketball, and what you thought about the makeup of the team, and should the rookies, should they have been a part of that team?
Now you trying to get all the crazies in my mentions. As we see, you know, they won the gold, and I think that the people who obviously politics goes into everything, but the people who were on the team made impacts. And like, even with Kalia Copper, she was so needed in that championship game, the guard out of Phoenix Mercury. And so I feel like they did what was shown in the time that they had, players who have put in that time and that work with USA Basketball to get to that stage. There was 3 players who was their first time ever being on the 5-on-5 team. It worked. They won gold. They had the best player in the world on their team, Asia Wilson. So it's like, I feel like their time will come. I think people made it a way bigger deal than it needed to be, because I feel like both of those players knew that their time will come when it does. And I think they both give respect to players that came before them and that were on the team. The crazy psycho fans like to just hide behind a computer and say things they would never say to people's faces. But, they were gold. They made it entertaining. And they're always going to get one's best play because they are in the world. Kelvin's really trying to set me up. That's crazy.
You was.
No, I'm just asking. I value your analytic ability when it comes to basketball. So I have to ask you the hardball questions.
But Bryan, I do want to say before you end the show, I really hope that, because when I found out about the game, I do have a little birdie who told me about the Howard FAMU game. I was like, this needs to be dropped now. This is right after homecoming. People need to change their arrangements. Like, you can't wait, till the last second and expect people to flood in. If you tell people now, they can extend their stay, especially the people who are driving. It's so much easier. But this being, I played in the MEAC when FAMU was in the MEAC. And one of the coaches who is on staff at Howard was a coach there when we played against them. I think this is such a big opportunity for us to, go down like memory lane of the history that is between these teams, and also, support everyone. I'm seeing the comments, I'm seeing all the chats, I'm seeing all this. It seems like a lot of internet talk of being like, we support basketball, we love women's basketball, we love men's basketball, but the audiences I've seen at the games don't correlate to that. So especially this game of it, to me, it has like a lot of, it's just, this is history because FAMU was in the MEAC for such a long time. This should be a game that people easily can attend, fill the crowd, make a great environment, because Howard is a really good program. They are an established program who, despite their success last year, they lost 3 players early in the season. So everyone should be ready for my MEAC rankings, because I think I'm going to shock some people. But they brought in, a guard from Kentucky. They really filled their roster well, and they have all their players back who were injured. So it's going to be a great game. And like you said, a great test against a team who Coach Grace has done amazing things with that program. And so if I'm seeing in the chat people being like, we got to make sure Coach Gordon doesn't leave. This is your opportunity to show her that you want her here, is by ticket sales and butts in the seats. Like, that's how you show coaches and teams that you support them. So all that internet talk is crazy. Get your butt to a game this year. I don't even care which game. Get there, because to all the games I watched last year, it was slim. It was slim in there.
Yeah.
I think I saw Kelvin a few times sitting by himself.
He probably was. But no, that you bring up a great point. This is why, like, when you see this schedule, we have to be able to have the ticketing ready. Ticketing has got to be ready. Deeper discussions.
Other teams have already dropped their basketball ticket sales, their season ticket holders. They've already done all that. So I'm just like, what's happening? Like, you drop the schedule, drop the ticket sales.
Right. Yep. Right. Great points. All right, Liv. Well, we always appreciate you. And now I'm excited. Now I'm definitely I was already about to put in my day off for November 4th, but now definitely because Liv is coming to Tallahassee.
You told Coach Gordon you had already put it in.
I did.
Right. Look at him getting caught up in a lie.
See, trying to get me in trouble. See, with that said, anyway, see, it's called. So I'm trying to sell the segment, Kelvin. You trying to messy. You worse than me. Liv is going to be coming back for the home opener, the FAMU home opener. So if you want to meet Liv, you get a chance.
Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm shy. I'm shy in real life.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So when we do our show and we have Liv there, you all can come around and wave to Liv, but don't stop. You just wave and keep walking by. But no, you can't be shy, Liv. You're a media personality.
I know. It takes a minute for me. I'm used to being on the court and people just watching from back there, not, having real conversation. But, come on, let's meet. Let's support women's basketball because we need to. And also make sure you get to FAMU men's basketball game. I've been seeing too, everyone been saying, oh, we love Coach Crary. Oh, ooh. But make sure you support him. Marcus, I'm not lying. Like people saying they support someone, but then they're not show that because last take, and then we can get off because you got me on a rant. I believe that they put FAMU at 11 because of a new coach and how piss poor they were last year. Let's keep it a buck. They were hot garbage last season. No disrespect, but it is what it is.
No disrespect to garbage.
To garbage, but you're hot garbage, so
they respectful garbage.
Yes, exactly. I would not be surprised if they finish in the top 6 this year.
Agreed.
I agree.
And I don't think that's a hot take. I think if you listen to how he talks about the team, if you do your research on the players he brought in, top 6 is not out of the question.
Ooh. Great parting shot, Liv. We always appreciate you coming in. Can't wait to see you in about a month down in Tallahassee.
Look.
Should be a good time. Make sure you follow Liv at Liv for Hoops or Die Lonely, as I like to say.
I need to add that to my bio. # or Die Lonely.
Please do. Courtesy of me. Have it. It's yours. We always appreciate you. Love you, Liv. Thanks for coming on, sharing some basketball thoughts and knowledge. Be well, and we'll see you soon. All right?
Have a good night.
All right. All right.